my email, but nothing was ever really discussed or talked about what mechanically it should look like from a court coverage standpoint, from whose call is a shot being released near the expiration of a shot clock and things of that nature. MJ and I have talked a little bit and gone over some things, and I have some things to share on the screen for what the Mechanics Illustrated says about a last second shot and things of that nature, and then just some tips from us as we've worked maybe a few more shot clock games than some other people. So with that said, I'm just going to give a rundown real quick of the shot clock protocols, and I'll kind of simplify it for those that don't have the handout with them. There's 3 situations you'll have in a game. 2 involve you having a whistle that stops the game clock, and 1 is a shot going up that hits the rim. And we have everything listed on the sheet, but it basically breaks down to, if you stop the game with a fist in the air, you're going to have a new 35 seconds every time. If you call a foul in the game, your shot clock's going to reset to a full 35. If you stop the clock with an open hand and we don't have a change of possession, the team that had the ball when you stop the clock retains possession of the ball, your shot clock's going to stay the same. Whether it's a kickball, whether it's an out of bounds, whether it's a timeout. If you stop the clock with an open hand and there's not a change of possession, your shot clock stays the same. If you have a shot release that hits the rim, it's going to go to 35, and that will wind. That new 35 will wind as soon as someone gains team control, or player control. Does that make sense to everybody? That's a simplified version. There's a whole list of all the different scenarios here, but basically, if you stop the clock with an open hand and you don't have a change of possession, your shot clock should not reset to 35. MJ, anything?
Nope, that's correct. And as far as I know right now, it's going to stay this way. They have talked about making some other time reset constraints, but until we find out that that's any different come this next fall, we're working summer basketball the same way we worked this last year. If any of you had opportunities to work shot clock games.
And just to reiterate, if you have any questions throughout this, throw them up in the chat room and we'll get to them. So next, mechanically, how does this work? How does it work for who has last second shot clocks winding down? Who does what? Whose call is it? Who should be looking where? First thing, with a shot clock, everybody needs to have better clock awareness than we have had over a normal high school game without a shot clock. You need to get ingrained into every time you inbound the ball after a made shot, make sure your shot clock started at the same time as your 10-second count. Like I said at the meeting last year, we can't use the shot clock for our 10-second backcourt count, but if you're calling a 10-second violation and we're not at least near 25 seconds on the shot clock, somebody's going to have some questions of how we got to where we got without fixing the shot clock before then. And vice versa. If we're at 23 on the shot clock and we haven't had a 10-second violation in the backcourt, then that means your shot clock started early before the ball was inbounded, and we should have fixed that before we got to 23 on the shot clock. So while you can't use it, you still need to do a visible 10-second count mechanically. You need to be aware of what's going on and making sure that that's all kosher. The other thing with the shot clock awareness is when you hit your whistle to call a foul or a violation, if you're the primary official on a foul play, you probably need to keep your eye on the players. As a partner to someone on the other 2 officials on the court, you need to take a look up at your clocks and make sure they stop. Make sure you know what the shot clock was at. If you have a trigger happy shot clock operator and they reset it and you had an out of bounds violation and it should have stayed where it was, you need to just kind of, every time there's a whistle, if it's not your whistle, start peeking up at the clock so that you have an idea. And then when you have those shot clocks that need to go back to a certain time because your operator said at 35, if you know the time it should be at when your partner blew their whistle, it makes life a lot easier. The college game, when we don't have replay, it can lead to long delays is if you have to get all three people together and try and piece together where we were. If you have a shot clock that doesn't have recall, I'm not sure. We're going to have different types of shot clocks in every gym. I'm sure some will be the same, some will be different. I've heard that some schools don't have their shot clocks installed yet. So we don't know what we're looking at, especially during summer ball. You may have shot clock, you may not. You'll have to figure it out every time you get to a site for that. And then next winter, they should all have them installed. Okay, I'm going to share my screen and I have what the high school league says about last second shots. Where do we go? There we go. It's not letting me share it. Okay. Let's see if it goes this way. Does that show up for everybody, that the mechanics illustrated page?
Yep.
Okay. So the only difference here is this is towards the end of a period or end of a half. And at the end of a half, once the clock hits zeros, you can have that breath and relax a little bit once everything's taken care of. The difference with the shot clock is once that shot's released and you either have judged it to be released in time or after time, you still have a play going on. If the shot's released with 1 second on the shot clock, you don't get to have that bit of relax afterwards. You're onto a new play, you're onto a new 35, and we have to officiate rebounding and get ready for a 10-second count if it's a defensive rebound or anything like that. But the mechanics of court coverage should be the same, and who has the clock should be the same as the end of the half. So basically that means right around the 10-second mark, whoever's opposite table, trail or C, is going to kind of tap the chest and say, this is mine. And at about 5 to 7 seconds, a lead should be locked down, no more rotations, so that everybody knows who has what responsibility. But whoever's opposite table is going to have the shot in the clock. Now, last year, the high school league had it so we tried to lock the C in opposite table so that it was the center official making the call. And that's something we can work on this summer too, getting used to towards the end of a shot clock, towards the end of the half. Whether the lead rotates or not, just know if there's a change of possession after the shot goes up to defense, that lead's going to have to swing back around and be trail on the other side, and that C is going to stay. So down to 5 seconds on the shot clock, C is going to tap the chest, my shot. If you get to the point where you can't see as well as the trail needs to be ready to assist if the ball's in their primary. If you know for sure there was a shot clock violation, other than that, that's C's play. They're going to own it, whether the shot's released in time or not. The big part of this is if the ball's in the gray area between the trail and the C, let the C take the shooter up and down in the shot, and our trail needs to go help with rebounding, and our trail needs to have an opinion on whether the ball hits the rim or not. Our center is going to take that shot. They're going to take the defense if they foul the shooter before they return to the floor, all that stuff. Now we need to know if the center judges that the shot was released on time. We need to know if the ball hits the rim. It can get missed. MJ and I've seen it. We've been part of games. It's not a fun situation, but your job as the table side official who's trail or C is to make sure if that ball hits the rim or not. Because if it hits the rim, we got a full 35. If not, somebody's got to be ready to kill it before something happens on that rebounding action.
And I'll just add, especially when you're down to the end of the game, like in this situation, you got a 1-point game, and let's say you have 3 seconds left on the shot clock where that 35 is going to expire. Okay, so 35 is going to expire at the 3-second mark. And if we have a foul on that shot and it hits the rim, we need to know, or we don't have a foul, I'm sorry, but it hits the rim, we need to know if that, for some reason, there's some kind of situation. We had a situation in the game where that's exactly what was going to happen. The shot clock operator like had a brain fart, stopped the shot clock. We're waiting for a violation. We had an air ball. Everybody stood still. The game, the shot or the shot clock, I'm sorry, the shot clock operator let the shot clock run out, but the game clock operator stopped the clock when the shot clock horn went off. So now we had a major issue. But we knew about time, so we put time back on. But it can be crazy. I've seen another situation where the shot clock runs out. There's a 1.5 second differential. The ball hits the rim, shot clock horn goes off, the rebounder puts it right back up, scores a 2-point bucket, wins by point. Everybody stopped. They're like, well, the horn went off. No, the shot clock horn went off. So again, that's why it's so important to know where you're at time-wise in the game, what horn's going off, shot clock horn or game horn. And then if there is a miss on the rim, like Eric was talking about, that opposite official has to know whether or not the ball hit the rim or didn't hit the rim if we have a timing error to fix or we have a foul to deal with. Let's say the shot clock horn goes off and the ball's in the air and that center official calls a foul. Okay, so where's the time? How much time do we put back on? Does the game clock expire on time? We have to have that knowledge. And those are the situations that put us in the suit. So that's what Eric's saying, don't get caught watching the ball, watching the play, watching the foul. Make sure you pregame last second shot, who has what, and do it by position rather than by person. But by doing that communication too, we can help each other out with that.
Yeah. So a couple things there. We'll go over full court press, balls in the backcourt, heavy pressure on the inbounds pass. Who has the least amount of responsibility during that scenario in a 3-person crew? The new lead, right? They're chilling in the backcourt. There's probably 8 of the 10 players are in the front court between the center and the trail. During that situation, my opinion for the lead's 2 biggest responsibilities: take a peek at the shot clock and make sure it's not running until the ball's inbounded, and watch the coach who's being pressured with full court press and might be calling a timeout. There's probably not a lot of foul action with the 2 players on your end. You can help out on the backside a little bit, but our clock awareness there is going to come from the lead. Once the ball is inbounded, trail, if you can, take a peek, see for sure, take a peek, lead, be ready to help out if they miss it. If we get 2 or 3 dribbles in, and you look up and we're still at 35 and the ball's in the backcourt for 2 or 3 seconds, lead, help out. Now we flip it to the front court. We've got 5 seconds on the shot clock. Ball's table side in the post. Leads there. They're watching for fouls. They're watching the post move. They're looking to see if there's a push off on the offense, if they get bumped or hit on the shot by that. Who's our clock person there? 5 seconds to go. That's got to be the C. If lead calls a foul, our C needs to be the one looking up saying, okay, we had this on the clock. This is on the game clock. Okay. We should have 4 seconds on the game clock because we had the foul at 2 seconds with the shot clock and it all worked out. But knowing when we are the official with the least amount of pressure on us for calling the fouls on the ball, that official needs to be aware of the clocks more than the other 2 officials, because that's how you can help out. We always say if you're officiating dead air because there's no action, now with the shot clock, you can take that moment to check your shot clock, check your game clock, and just get an idea of where were we at 2 seconds ago with timing. So when a whistle happens, if something happens, you can give the information for where the clock should be. Last thing I was going to share was this board and just talk about help calls. And where they can come from. So we'll focus on this end here. Can you guys all see my cursor? If we have towards the end of a shot clock and we have it in this dual coverage area where center's opposite table, they're locked in, they're going to have the shot clock violation. If they kick something, if they have a defender that screens them out, trail can help with that call. If you're trail and you're 120% that there was a shot clock violation and the ball didn't get released in time and your center didn't get it, you can come in and help with that. When we get down in the corner 3 area, is there anybody that's going to be able to help that center out and seem legitimate to the people watching? Probably not. We need to be aware of when we can help on these calls and when we have to trust our partner in their judgment and let their judgment be the call we go with, and we focus on our areas of responsibility, which will be the rebounding action, which will be if the ball hits the rim after it's released, if our shot clock, if we have an offensive rebound and it didn't hit the rim, did they reset it to 35 and they're pulling it out? Now we need to stop and get our shot clock back to the right spot. I mean, we've all seen the studies of, and some of the games we've had, we're not even in the single digits and we're having shots put up. So if we have an air ball with 15 seconds left on the shot clock and the offense gets the rebound, we got to know, okay, we're down to 10 seconds. We need to lock in. Our center needs to be ready because we're getting to that end of shot clock scenario where it's their call, whether it's release in time or not. And if we have we're going to all have new shot clock operators this year. If they reset it to 35 on an air ball and we don't have an immediate putback, we need to kill it before the offense starts setting up a play again and let everybody know, hey, our shot clock needs to be at 7 seconds and we're going to put the ball out of bounds and go. So any questions, thoughts? Any other rules or thoughts, questions?
Eric, what's the reset time? Are we doing 17 seconds on reset, like on a kick ball?
Everything's a full 35.
Okay.
And there's no reset on a kick.
Okay.
Like, if you don't have a foul, you're just going out of bounds with it.
Okay.
I don't know if that will be a change somewhere down the road. We've all heard and seen the discussions of, are they going to go to college where an offensive rebound resets to 20? I think right now we just have to go with what we did last year, which is everything is a full reset. There's no partial resets. There's nothing you do on a kick ball violation. It's just fouls are 35. Everything else stays the same. So.
Okay.
We got a question in the chat
We
room.
do. Yeah, the question is, if the ball is inbounded and 3 seconds up the court, we notice no time is off the shot clock, we blow it dead. How do we proceed? Where do we inbound? Do we adjust the shot clock, game clock? Does 10 seconds start over? Good question. So here's the answer to that. If you're 3 seconds up and you know you're 3 seconds up, and we should all be looking at that clock every time we come up the floor. It's just a good habit to get into to make sure it's running. So if you know that the clock is supposed to start it at 2:35 and it still says, or the game clock's running, but the shot clock's not, that's a perfect scenario because now you can stop it. You can say, put my shot clock at 32, okay, because the game clock says 2:32. Put my shot clock at 32, put it in play closest to where you killed it, just like you would for any other inbound on that play. You don't have to do anything with the game clock, and your 10-second count in this scenario, because you blew it dead, your 10-second count will start over. We may see that rule change in the future, but for right now, it will start over.
And I think that's also part of the reason we're not allowed to use the shot clock for our 10-second count is because high school, okay, you inbound the ball, you get down to 33 seconds and the defense tips the ball out of bounds. Okay, now we're going to inbound. We have a new 10. We don't reset our shot clock. Now in college, we're allowed to throw up our fingers and say our new number is this or our new number is that in certain scenarios. But in high school, we're just doing our visible 10 count. Again, we need to start working on clock awareness. So if I have that and I look up and I see the ball went out of bounds at 33, I'm going to know if I get close to 10 seconds, my shot clock should be dang near close to 23. Otherwise, something's screwy, either with my count or the starting of the shot clock, or it started early. One of those scenarios. Now, the starting early should be okay, because if the shot clock operator is doing it right, from what I've noticed, once they've started, unless they hit reset, when they start the game clock, the shot clock will start with it. And the shot clock should turn off on an out of bounds when they stop the game clock as well. But I just like everything else, if you do your job and have good awareness, you're always there to back up a malfunction of the equipment, because the stuff's not foolproof. We've all seen it at the college level, where all of a sudden you check before the game and your shot clocks are fine, and all of a sudden you get halfway through the game and you look up and one shot clock's not on anymore, and you're going, well, what the heck happened? So being aware, knowing what's going on, and being the backup for the equipment can only help you and make things go smoother when something happens.
Our other comment here, thanks Tim Andring for asking that. And then our other comment here from Jim Paul, good points. A lot of times you're going to have new folks running the shot clock, especially in summer ball. They're going to recruit somebody. Just sit here tonight, could be a parent, could be whoever. Remind them that now the game clock's running. Okay, ball goes in the hole. They take it out of bounds. The shot clock doesn't start until it's legally touched in bounds. So like Eric's talking about clock awareness, that clock's running. As soon as that ball's touched in bounds, that shot clock operator should bump that or release, depending on how it's set up, to start that new shot clock. My habit right there should glance at that clock, at the game clock, so I know where it started, and at the shot clock to make sure it started correctly. Because if I look up, like Jim mentioned, if I look up and they're inbounding the ball, they're catching that inbound pass, and now it's at 32, that's incorrect. So I would kill that right there, put 35 on the game clock and go right from there. Okay, you're not adjusting on the shot clock and go right from there. You're not adjusting the game clock. All you're doing is fixing the shot clock and go from there, because those seconds have already ticked off the game clock. I hope that answers the question. Thanks, Jim. Good reminder.
And one thing you can, I mean, you're going to want to pregame with your shot clock operators. I know summer ball, it could be a little tricky. Some of us roll in at 5:58 for a 6 o'clock start. But so you're in the scenario where made basket with a running clock. Most of the shot clocks I've been around, if they hit the reset button and hold it, and you tell your shot clock operator to hold the button down until the ball's touched in bounds and then release the button, that will start your shot clock at the correct time. A lot of them, they like, oh, I got made bucket, I got to reset. They hit the button and then they let go right away. And that's how you end up at the 32 or the 33 seconds that Jim Fall was talking about. And if there's not full court pressure, most folks are not crying over 2 seconds off the shot clock. When there's no pressure in the backcourt and you're in one of these full court up and down games where your shot clock hasn't run under 20 seconds for the first 10 minutes of the game, and they're just shots flying all over the place. But it's something to be aware of. So maybe at a timeout, you know, we have our little quickie quizzes with each other at a timeout. If you notice that your first time out, just walk up to the table and say, hey, to your shot clock operator, hey, make sure you hold that button down on a made basket until it's touched in bounds after the made bucket. Oh, okay. I mean, we don't need to insert ourselves over 1 or 2 seconds that's not interrupting game flow and hurting anyone in a game where it's consistent on both ends. We got to give our shot clock operators a little bit of leeway, especially when we first get going with this. If we're getting to that 4 or 5 seconds off the clock before the ball's inbounded, okay, now we're at a really big disadvantage. But especially in the summer games, part of the reason the coaches said they wanted shot clock in the summer wasn't just for their players. It's because when they get to the regular season next year, that first game counts, whether their shot clock operators experienced or not. They want their shot clock operators doing the right thing. Because for those, I'm drawing a blank on who I was with, but I opened the shot clock era in Pine Island last year on a first boys home game of the season. And the shot clock era started with 4 stoppages in the first 40 seconds of the game because our shot clock was wrong 4 times in the first minute. It was a struggle. And then we got it going and it worked fine, but don't lose sleep over 1 or 2 seconds if there's no pressure in the backcourt. Just be aware of it. Learn what to say to your shot clock operator at a dead ball opportunity and go from there. So last scenario I want to throw by everybody, and it's in my interpretation is what the worst case scenario is and where things are going to blow up on you. We have 5 seconds to go on the shot clock. Ball's on the perimeter, player is going one-on-one and going to drive to the hoop because at 5 seconds, we got to go. They drive from trail to lead table side. A secondary defender slides over. That player goes in the air. And right about the time the shot clock goes off, we have a crash in the arc. Who's calling what? And who's responsible for what? And who should be looking where? Because this is a play where even without the shot clock, there's a lot going on. So a couple things with that one. Center, you need to have shot clock awareness and you need to have ball location awareness and when the contact happens on that play. Lead, drive to the paint, secondary defender near the arc, in the arc. That's your call. Officiate the contact in the play, hit your whistle. Center is going to have to make the decision really quick on whether the foul happened before or after the shot clock expired and if the ball had been released on time. And you're going to have to get together and have a conversation if it's that close of a play. Trail, pick up the secondary defender's feet. If we have a charge called and they were in the arc, be ready to help your lead out with that play. Whether the ball goes in or not, trail probably needs to be ready to help with that too, because C is going to be looking for contact and when it occurs and when the ball is released. So these plays are going to happen. We keep adding more and more to our plate as officials, but if we're aware of where our eyes should be and what our responsibility is in each situation, we should have it covered. Now flip that to the other side. Because we don't always have the perfect scenario where we've locked our center in opposite table near the end of a shot clock. Trail is opposite table. So now trail is responsible for the end of the shot clock. So now trail, you're going to have whether the ball is released in time before the shot clock hits zeros. You're going to have to determine whether contact happened before that as well. Lead, you're just officiating whether there was or wasn't a foul, whether it was player control, arc play, straight up block, whatever. Center, you're helping out with everything else. You have the feed of the secondary defender to help out the lead if they can't get it, especially on our gyms where we have the short baselines and can't get depth. Know if the ball went in or not. And then you can be a backup opinion on whether or not the ball was released before zeros on the shot clock. So have fun with those. They make you a better official and you're going to screw them up as we all have. And as you see more of these plays, that's how you get better at it. But it's, anymore, we've all seen our high school game has turned into 3-point shots and one-on-ones to the hoop, looking to kick to the 3-point line. And end of shot clock scenarios, those situations just get amped up to another level because that players are going to start realizing I need to make something happen because I'm about out of time. So any other questions, thoughts?
I was just all I'm gonna say is on those plays, everybody brings something to the table. So like kind of the way you started the meeting is nobody gets a free time out, right? Like you can't just say, oh, it's not in my area now. I don't have anything to officiate. So we all officiate all parts of all different parts of the same play at different times. But in those cases, we all bring information to the table. So you might have to all get together and talk it over and put it all together to get it right. So don't be shy about that.
The other thing I'll add to that is we all have time to time where we might get caught ball watching when the ball's outside of our primary. Your crew is going to struggle if you're not helping do your job of clock awareness when you're the official who has the ability to look at the clock. If you're constantly watching the ball when your partners have the ball in their primary, there's going to be some clock issues, and you're going to be the one that it should fall back on to help fix the clock, whether it's a shot clock, the game clock, whatever. And if you're not doing your job at that time, which is to have a little bit of awareness while your partners are officiating the contact on the play, it will start showing more now when those clock situations happen. We all do it from time to time, and we all like the plays where it's the drive to the arc, and well, trail and center are supposed to help with the feed of the secondary defender and lead officiate the play, and all there's all these reasons to be looking for contact where your partner's primary is from time to time, but it just notches up another level as we add more clock situations to our responsibility. So, well, thanks everybody for showing up. I told you it would be short and to the point. It's about 8:33. I really feel like this is probably the first basketball educational Zoom meeting held in June.
Yeah.
So there's that. For those of you that are working summer ball, thank you, and good luck. And if there's any situations that come up that you want to share or have questions on, please reach out. Myself, MJ will, if you email someone, we're going to talk to the other people to make sure we have the right answer before we send it back anyway. So, but there's also other veterans out there working these games that can help as well. So,
And don't be shy about, especially during the summer, that sheet that was attached to the Zoom meeting link. Print that out, throw it in your bag. Even if you give it to whoever's running the shot clock. We put that together last year. Jim Erzar and I worked on that at length to make it as simple as possible, easy to read, quick reference guide for people at the table, and kind of a quick pregame sheet for officials. So if you have the opportunity to print 3, 4, 5 of them off, and when you go out and work, just leave them with whoever's working the table. Why not? It's not a big secret, and the more informed our table people are, the better off we all are when we're on the court. So.
all right. Well,
Thanks,
thanks.
Eric.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.